Hello and welcome to the Career Change Studio. This is the place to design and create a new working life so that you can live the way that you want and need in your next chapter. I'm Dana Stevens, certified career change coach, and I'm here to help you work out your next career move. I'm going to inspire you to think about this transition in brand new ways so that you can think differently about yourself and what's possible for you. You'll also learn how to build up your belief and self-confidence so that you can finally start taking action. This is about so much more than just getting another job. This is about changing the way you live your life for the better. Today, I'm going to share with you my story of how I changed careers in my 40s, because I not only want you to see what's possible, I also want to help you see that I'm the right person to be talking to you about changing careers. And the best bit, in my opinion, is that I've not just successfully transitioned once, moving from the corporate world to running my own coaching business. Although that was my most recent change, I did actually also change careers in my 30s. At the very start of my career, I was actually a BBC radio producer. So this is a lovely full circle moment to be talking about this on my very first podcast, because telling stories through audio was actually my very first passion. So let's get into it, because I really want to help you to see that we can change careers at different points in our lives, in different chapters of our lives, often for very different reasons. And I really do know what you're going through, that frustration you're feeling because you're feeling stuck and unable to make a decision, and how much that can really take over so many parts of your life. You might feel like you're going round in circles and playing those different options over and over in your mind constantly. And this can start to feel like this low-level hum that's always there in the background. It can feel exhausting, and it really does stop you feeling present in all areas of your life, not just at work, but with family, in your relationships, when you're with your friends. Even when you're doing something that's supposed to be fun, it's often just there, isn't it? And I also know what you need to do to get through it and start moving forwards. And that's what I help my career change clients do every day. Make decisions, figure out what's next, and build up the confidence to make changes. Then it's about creating an action plan and securing that new job so that they can live and work in a way that's a much better fit for what they want and need in the particular chapter of their life that they're in. So I'm going to be sharing much more about that process of how to make changes in upcoming episodes of the Career Change Studio podcast. But for now, I'm going to take you back to the start of my career. I decided I wanted to work in radio quite early into my degree, and it was something that I really loved and felt so passionate about. I did loads of free work experience in hospital radio and also on the Vanessa Feltz show at BBC London, and did that until I started getting some occasional paid shifts that turned into some regular paid shifts. And in fact, I worked 3 part-time jobs on top of my radio shifts at the start because I wanted it so badly. And I really loved it. I loved working in radio, working on speech and music shows at BBC London. Then ultimately I moved on to doing some work at Radio 1, working on shows like The Sunday Surgery, if you remember that, music shows at BBC One Extra, and then getting the dream gig for me, which was working for the music and arts team at the BBC World Service, where I was producing music and cultural programmes. And here's the thing, as much as I loved the job, and I really did, and I loved the people I worked with, there just wasn't much progression. People loved their jobs in radio so much that they really didn't leave very often. People didn't move on. And I wanted more. I wanted promotions and opportunity, and I was ambitious, and I wanted to be challenged more. I also needed more financially. I was in my early 30s and I wanted to get on the property ladder. And living in London, I knew that that just wouldn't be possible on a radio producer salary. And I knew that I wanted to have a family one day. And the reason I'm telling you this is because people often think that they should only be changing careers if it's to follow their passion or find their purpose. But the truth is this, that many people, including me, might want or need to change careers for much more pragmatic reasons. For more money, for financial security, to get a mortgage. You might want something that's more flexible, or part-time work if you have small kids or other care responsibilities. Or you might need to prioritise your health, whether that's your physical health or your mental health, and that's okay. I just want you to know that these are all really valid reasons for changing careers and valid and real reasons that people change careers all the time. Your life is going to have many chapters, and what you want and need in those chapters is absolutely going to change. So if you find yourself needing to make a change and it's not about purpose or passion, that is totally fine. That's you being true to what you want and need and the life that you need to live. So I basically spent a long time researching different industries to see where there was some growth. I spent time looking at my skills, figuring out what was genuinely transferable and what new ones I would need to learn as well. I identified that my skills in radio could transfer across to the burgeoning online world, websites, content, social media. I saw that social media was growing and taking off, and it was a very pragmatic reason why I wanted to move into that area. It really wasn't at the beginning for a sense of purpose or passion for social media at the time, although ultimately I did end up becoming really into it and fired up by it later. But the driving force at that point was that I knew I needed something different in my next chapter, and I wanted something that was going to support the way I wanted to live. And honestly, it took courage to walk away from something that had been a dream career and that I'd spent so much time investing in. I'd worked for free for hours, weeks, months, and spent loads of time investing in this version of me that I thought I was creating. And it was a really big part of my identity at the time. And I'm mentioning that because that might be something that you're struggling with too. Maybe you're finding it hard to get to this place of acceptance that something you loved or used to love or even spent lots of time or energy working towards is no longer right for you. And in a way, there can be this very real sense of grief, as if you feel like you are letting go part of your identity. And that can be where you might need support, because then you want to be able to create a new identity that you're excited about moving towards. Because really, you're not fully leaving that version of you behind. You're upgrading your identity to something new that's more suitable for where you're going. And I like to think of it as creating a new version of myself. A bit like a new OS, a new operating system, more capable of dealing with the next phase. So after moving into online work at the BBC, I was working in a team managing homepages and websites and helping to set up new and emerging social media in BBC. In the TV area, that was quite a new thing. So I was working on the blog for BBC Three, helping programmes set up social channels for different shows. And when I'd expanded my skill set enough, I was able to move out of the BBC and get a job in a creative content agency, working on loads of exciting brands like Cadbury chocolate, and there was lots of free chocolate involved, which was great, and developing ideas for the Olympics. And ultimately, I worked my way up in the content and advertising industry as a strategist until my last role in the corporate world, where I was head of strategy at a big London advertising agency. And I was managing a large team there, and we were working with all sorts of big name clients, names you will have heard of, like Nationwide, Building Society, Simple Skincare, British Red Cross. And frankly, it was a very demanding job. And while I had achieved those outside markers of success, promotions, a healthy salary, a wonderful team who I still love, the stress, the pressure and the long hours just weren't working with family life. I have 2 young boys, they were obviously much younger then, and the lifestyle I wanted for myself and my family just didn't match up. I always remember, back then, if anyone asked me how I was, I always replied, "Oh, busy. Oh, I'm so busy. Yeah, just so busy." My brain felt like it was always going at 100 miles an hour, juggling work priorities, deadlines, client demands, young kids that actually never slept, but that's a whole nother story. And I often felt like I was teetering right on the edge of burnout, on the brink of it. And just as I'd feel like I was tipping over, a holiday or a break would be the only thing that would pull me back from the brink. But that was only ever temporary, and the cycle would start again. And really, I knew that it wasn't sustainable. And ultimately, I just started to not enjoy who I was becoming. I became irritable. I was often quite resentful about things that were happening at work and a bit angry and would get very worked up about it. And that's not really who I am. I'm actually quite a chilled person. And I felt like My family and my partner, my long-suffering partner, they were constantly getting the dregs of me. I felt like I had to be this tough, super resilient person at work, but really it was slowly breaking me. And I no longer felt like me anymore. And I knew that I needed to change, even if it took me a while to accept it. I'd actually already been interviewing at various other brands and agencies for about 18 months, thinking the answer was just to keep moving further up the ladder, mainly because this was just the accepted path that was discussed, right? Need a new job, go and get a promotion in another agency. But even though I got offered a few jobs, I turned some of them down because it just didn't feel right. And really, I knew that I'd just be jumping from one stressful situation into another, more of the same. And it was ultimately mindset work that really helped me realize I don't want more of the same. I actually do want something different. I didn't want to just go and get another job. What I really wanted was to change how I was living my life. And it was so liberating when I realised that. I wanted to learn how to think differently about work and how I approached it. I wanted to think differently about how I was living. I wanted to get back to feeling more like me again. And I wanted to create a life that I really loved, with space in it for me, my family, my friends, for my health, and for more joy and fun. Ultimately, it was coaching and coaching tools that helped me to realise that I could make the change happen myself, that I could set my life on a different course. And I found the coaching tools so powerful that they really changed how I thought about everything. And I couldn't believe that no one had taught me before how to think differently and how to create a different life for myself through thought work, through mindset work, and how the thinking, the way I was thinking, was going to change everything. It was going to change how I felt about things, and that would change the actions that I would take, which would ultimately change my reality, my life, my experiences. So I decided to retrain as a coach and help other people. And to be honest, it was different the second time round, right? It was actually scarier. I had a mortgage, I had kids. It felt like there was much more at stake. I had a certain level of status, and my identity was once again wrapped up with my career. But ultimately, through coaching and through thought work, I was able to get to a place of real calmness when I finally knew what I wanted to do. And so I mapped out a plan and started really managing my mind to take a leap into the unknown in a way that felt good to me. And I had the tools to deal with the uncertainty and the prospect of failure and things going wrong, and know that that might happen, but that I would have the capability to handle it. And this helped me to actually go ahead and make the changes. So I started my own business, built it up alongside my corporate job initially until I was able to quit and go full-time in my own business. And honestly, I have never been happier. I've never felt more me and more in control of my life. And that sense of control, weirdly, also gives me such a sense of freedom. So I'm really intentionally living a life where I can balance my needs, the needs of my kids, and the needs of my business together. Even now, years later, I am so grateful every single day for the small things, the small moments of this new life that are only possible because I decided to make changes. And all those small things ultimately add up to this big thing, this new life that I've created, a different life that's possible because I was willing to change the work I do and how I work so that I could change how I live. The other wonderful thing about making these changes is who I've become, how I've changed as a person, just by going through this career change experience, by sort of being the one that's taken charge of my life and how I live. Ultimately, I'm much more confident now. I'm more self-assured, and I'm more able and willing and keen to kind of continually look around and see, how else do I want to adjust things? How else do I want to optimize my life based on how I want to live? Now I get to help other people who are at a career crossroads to get clear on what they want next in their career and take action to make it happen. And maybe that's you. Maybe now you're at this career crossroads and you have no idea what you want to do, and you're worried because you're thinking, I should know. And I just want you to know you don't need to know what you're going to do next. That's what I can help with. That's what I help people with all the time, getting clear on what you really want, helping you make decisions, even if you think you're someone who's very indecisive. And I want to help you understand the ways that you're thinking that might be keeping you stuck and what you can change to help you move forwards. I help people create belief in themselves and what's possible so that the transition feels exciting and positive. Even if at the moment, or when people start working with me, their brain's telling them that it might be hard and difficult, we can get to a place where it feels so much easier. And that's where I can help create a plan of action and provide practical strategies to help people get the job, whether that's reviewing CVs, preparing for interviews, setting up their own business, or retraining. I've got years of experience interviewing people, recruiting, being on the other side, so I know what works. And I also know what you need to consider now in this new world where AI and applicant tracking systems is involved in the recruitment process. There's things that you might need to think about that's going to help you be in with the best chance of securing that new job. So these are all things that we're going to touch on in this podcast, the Career Change Studio. I'm going to help you understand some of these different stages of the process that's going to help you change careers, because I really do know what it feels like to be stuck, and I also know how debilitating that can be. But crucially, I know how amazing it feels to start making changes and how genuinely life-altering that's going to be for you. So I'd love it if you could join me every week here on the Career Change Studio podcast, and I'm going to be sharing knowledge, insights and ideas to help you change your career so that you can change your life for the better. So join me again next week. Bye for now. And if you want to start making changes to your working life, come and talk to me. You can book a free consultation with me where we'll talk about your personal situation, what's really holding you back, and what you can do differently to start making changes. I'll let you know what type of career change coaching is going to help you, and you can ask me any questions about your personal situation or about my proven process, the Life First Career Method, a method that helps people like you change your career so that you can change your life. Just visit my website, danastevens.com. That's DANASTEVENS.com, and click on the link to book a consultation. Or you can find the link in the show notes. If you've enjoyed this podcast, make sure you get your weekly fix of inspiration and career change guidance by clicking follow or subscribe wherever you get your podcasts. And if you'd like to rate and review the podcast, that would really help me get this in front of people who also might be feeling stuck and lost, so I'd really appreciate your help. And if you know anyone, friends, family, even colleagues, who might be thinking about changing careers, please do share this podcast with them. You might just be the person that helps them change their lives for the better.